It's Miss Rachel with the Otago Prepa Public Library, and today we are building with all of these supplies, and we're going to try to make a hideout or habitat for our little eraser friend here. So each of you are going to have your own eraser friend. Some of them are going to be different animals than others. So I got octopus. And so I'm going to create an underwater scene, I think. But depending on what animal eraser you got, you're going to want to build your hideout differently. So because this is a somewhat open-ended STEAM activity, I want you guys to use your imaginations and these supplies to build this hideout or habitat for your little eraser. And yours isn't going to look just like mine. And also, you can get as creative as you want. Now, I brought with me some scissors and some glue, but you can use other things you have around the house as well if you want to make yours even fancier. Before we get started, let's look at what is in your kit. So you've got a big, sturdy piece of blue paper. You've got a big, medium, sturdy piece of black paper. We have 4 paper tubes and 2 half paper tubes that have been cut down lengthwise. We should have a handful, probably about 10 popsicle sticks, 2 big thick rubber bands, 2 little skinny rubber bands, a whole roll of masking tape, and you can hold on to this for other STEM activities, 5 little cups and their lids that are clear, and I think these lids would make great windows, for example, for your hideout, and a pack of playing cards that you can also use as like building materials. So to get started, I think for my habitat, I'm actually going to set the playing cards aside and maybe not use them. You can also, if you want to get really creative, use your baggie as part of your design. I'm going to make like an underwater scene, I think, for my octopus. And I'm going to start with my black paper as the base. And I'm going to secure a couple of foundational columns around the edge of in the corners of the paper to be able to build that underwater surface. So I'm just using tape for this. You can also use glue. If you have a hot glue gun at home, you can also use that for this activity. That would be a good thing to do with this if you have grown-up supervision. And I'm not going to worry too much for my hideout about what it looks like. You can also bring your colors, some markers, things like that to decorate your hideout and make it look really fancy. For me, I want mine to be sturdy and I want mine to be fitting for my octopus. So I'm going to try and build a habitat that the octopus would enjoy. And we can worry about decorating it later. I'm trying to be a little bit practical for this imaginary scenario. Remember, you've got this whole roll of tape, so you can use as much of it as you need. And you can also, if you tear off a piece that's too big, you can tear off little pieces from what you've got. You can fold pieces over to help make it a little bit more tidy. All sorts of things like that. I'm also going to put my tape in the middle here to help hold down my paper because it's been rolled up for a little while. So it's trying to hold that arc shape. If I put some weight in the middle of the paper, it helps to weigh it down and keep it nice and flat. so that we have a solid foundation to work with. Once I get these 4 columns taped down, we're going to have a good start. I think this is going to be, my creation is going to be modeled a little bit after like an Atlantean Colosseum or something like that. Something with the pillars that are kind of from old architecture, ancient architecture, and then I'll have the blue paper here be the ocean surface. I might add some walls and windows. We'll kind of see where my imagination takes me. And I'm absolutely going to do a lot of experimentation in this process, which is where you try something out to see how it works. Once you experiment, you can take notes if you want to be really scientific and talk about in your notes what worked, what didn't work, what you think might work better. My hypothesis, which is my guess for how this experiment will go, is that I'm going to end up with a somewhat messy but overall suitable habitat and hideout for my little octopus. Now, I've got my foundation here. I'm feeling good about that. I've got my 4 pillars. I don't want my ocean to be super deep, but I do want it to be a little deeper than just this layer here would create the distance between the pillars and whatnot. So I'm going to make like a top for my pillars with these cups by attaching them to the top of my tubes like this. And again, I'm going to use my masking tape for that. That way we've just got a little bit of extra height, which adds to the room that the octopus has for activities. Because remember, octopi move throughout the water side to side like we can on land, but they can also go up and down through the water. So I want to give him plenty of space to play. And one of the ways to do that is to give him a higher ceiling. I also want to be sure that I'm doing the same thing on all 4 of my columns so that we've got some balance going on. Again, it's important to have a good, sturdy foundation. Otherwise, if you have something lopsided, there's a bigger chance it'll fall over or bend or break, especially because, like I said, this paper is a little bendy still from being rolled up for so long. If you have extra sheets of paper at home, you can use those as well, or cardstock, or even cardboard. There are lots of options. And I'm going to kind of roughly estimate the size of the roof here and just cut off some of this excess blue paper so that my roof just covers the top of it. And I'll flip it over and maybe put something heavy on top of it for a little bit to see if I can get rid of some of that curving. A couple things up there. Cool. So now that I've got some weight to help weigh it down, we can think about if we want to create walls. You can create walls with your playing cards. You can create more structure in the middle with your playing cards. You could even create some furniture with your playing cards, maybe like a little octopus couch or something. I'm going to make an entrance, I think, in the front of my creation here with this extra piece of blue paper I've got. And I'm going to make it a window type of entrance. Now this is a time when it is a good idea to have a pen or pencil, so I'm going to grab one of those. Okay, awesome. And I'm going to trace these clear lid shapes so we can make 3 little windows / doors for the octopus's friend to come in through. And to cut these out, I'm just going to fold my paper a little bit so that I can cut out only on the inside of the circle and not worry about messing up the structure of the wall around it. If you need help with this part, you can absolutely ask your grown-up for help. Now, since I'm doing a pretty simple design today, I'm not going to use my cards for this particular design, but like I said, you absolutely can. You can use any of these supplies that were provided in any way that seems to make good sense to you. You can experiment with it. You can get creative with it. I would love to see how intricate, how sturdy, how tall maybe, if you have a tall animal, or how wide and expansive if you have an animal that needs a lot more space. I would love to see what you create so I can see how you guys are using your engineering and design skills and what the results of your experimentation were. I would really love to see that. So if you would like, you can email me or message the library on Facebook with pictures of your creation. And I think that that would be super cool for us to be able to maybe make a Facebook album and share everybody's work. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop these little clear windows in here, and I didn't cut my holes out very, very carefully, so it looks like they're going to be a little wiggly, not quite as sturdy as I hoped, but they are staying in there, which is good. The little rim of the plastic cup kind of helps to hold, or of the plastic lid I mean, helps to hold them in place. And now we've got that, and we can add it to the front of our design. As you can see, our base is pretty sturdy because it went ahead and held up despite me dumping all that stuff on it just then. So I'm going to use some more tape to secure this entryway wall and attach it to the base of our hideout. The other thing you can do, if you have an animal that might be a prey animal, it might be an animal that other animals like to hunt and eat, you can make a hideout that's a little bit more sneaky and can keep them safe and keep them hidden from their predators. There are lots of options. You can check out a book from the library on your animal to see what type of habitat it prefers, or you can just use your imagination and see what type of habitat or hideout you think would be best suited for it. You can even use your imagination to say maybe it's an anthropomorphized animal, which means it's sort of like a human. Maybe my octopus is like a person and he lives, where'd he go? Oh, here he is, got smushed. He lives down here in this Atlantean hideout, but he wants to see his friends still, which is why we've got the window door attachments to his hideout so that he can still socialize after he looks through the window and makes sure that it's safe. You can make up stories to go along with your hideout. All sorts of options. So I've got one side attached. Let's attach our other side. And I've got the bottom attached as well. Sometimes if you put the tape on at a little bit of an angle, it gives you excess tape in a way that looks like it's not going to work out very well. But if you fold it over just right, it helps to attach it to the other parts. So you can experiment with those angles. You can get out a ruler and do some precise measurements if you want. There are lots and lots of options. Finally, I think I'm going to use, let's see, I'd like to use my rubber bands in this somehow, because I think the octopus needs a surface to hang out on instead of just hanging out on the ocean floor. So I'm going to use these rubber bands and this final cup, and I'm going to put a little hole with my scissors very carefully in the center of the bottom of that final cup and stick one of my large thick rubber bands through that. And I will use a popsicle stick to secure that so that it doesn't get pulled all the way through. There we go. And then I'm going to use my two thin rubber bands and I'm going to fold them in half inside of the big rubber bands to give it the length of both of them. And then use that bottom thin rubber band as like a harness for our little octopus guy to hang out in. So strap him up in that rubber band. There we go. And now we can have him suspended in this house. See him hanging out there? Awesome. So we're gonna take our surface of the ocean here, the top roof of this, and we're gonna glue our popsicle stick from our cup to that. And I'm gonna use a healthy amount of glue here just to make sure it sticks well. This glue is almost empty, so I'm trying to coax the last little bit out. And I'm doing this right in the center of my roof so that, once again, our octopus has plenty of room to play. So I'm sticking the popsicle stick onto the roof, and I'm going to put the roof on the house, the hideout, upside down for a moment with a couple of extra weights, just to be sure that the glue gets a chance to stick on there. And then when it dries, we can flip it over and we have our completed hideout. So I will post a picture and you guys can see the aquarium style hideout that we have created, the Atlantean style hideout that made together. And like I said, I would love to see pictures of what you all create, so please feel free to send them in to me. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye!